Heather Dubrow and Gina Kirschenheiter bonded during their trip to New York together on Wednesday's episode of The Real Housewives of Orange County. The 52-year-old reality star later was annoyed to hear from Emily Simpson, 45, that Shannon Beater's dinner party turned into a game of one-upmanship to see who could have more fun because the two of them were in New York together. "I don't like it that there is this weird competition where we are having more fun than you," said Heather in a confessional. When they got off the phone, Heather turned to Gina and said, "What are we going to do with that? We have a lot of SY friends." Shannon's dinner party started tame with Emily, Jen Armstrong, and Noella Bergener, 36, coming over to her house for a cooking lesson and dinner party. Shannon said in a confessional that she enjoyed cooking for people and that it made her feel good and wanted to share that with the housewives. When the women arrived, Shannon gave them all chef coats and hairnets for them to put on. Emily said that Shannon looked like the puppet character the Swedish chef in her chef's hat. Shannon first showed them how to make a crock-pot meal of white chicken chili and tried to get the other housewives to participate. "It's like a blowjob," said Noella in a confessional about cooking. "I can do it, I just don't want to." Jen helped make the shrimp and then told them she dreams of the day when her kids can make dinner at her house. "Is 6 too young to do that?" asked Emily. After the host, "I find it odd that there is only one shrimp that is raw and it happens to be the one that Noella's eating cooked by me," said Jen later in a confessional. "You are a liar." Shannon decided they should call Heather but it went straight to voicemail. "What did I do?" asked Shannon when her call didn't get answered. Heather and Gina did call them back a little while later after they checked into their NYC hotel. "We love you and miss you guys," said Heather. When they got off the phone, Shannon told Emily that she was still irritated about how she thought she was jealous of Gina's friendship with Heather. "She told me that," Emily said of Gina. "She thought that you were jealous of her relationship with Heather." "For what reason?" asked Shannon. "I'm not jealous. Doesn't that girl deserve to have an inflated ego right now?" said Emily. Shannon agreed and said she had been by Gina's side the whole time she went through her difficulties. Shannon then decided that they needed to be having more fun than Gina and Heather in New York. "Let's do it," said Noella. "Fuck them." Before the party really got started, Jen told Shannon that she needed to leave. She said she was trying to work something out with Ryan and have him move out for a month. Shannon told the other women that Jen has stuff that she was dealing with. Noella then whispered to Emily, "Because we all don't have to deal with anything." Jen saw Noella whispering to Emily and then walked by and said now he may be moving out. "It was good to see you guys." Emily yelled at her that you can't leave mad. Jen walked out the door and later said in a confessional that grown women don't act this way. They don't whisper in each other's ears and try to put people down. And I don't need this S. Emily, Noella and Shannon decided to go swimming and stripped off their clothes. Noella stripped down to just her underwear bottoms while Emily wore her underwear and bra to get into the pool. Shannon jumped in wearing her chef's jacket and hat. They drank champagne and liquor in the pool and even Shannon's dog jumped in and swam around with them. "Who would have thought as I'm planning a cooking class that people would end up mostly naked in my pool with my dog," said Shannon in a confessional. The next day Shannon got up and her house was a mess. She called Noella to find out what had happened and if she had eaten any of the edibles that were now gone. "My house is a crime scene," Shannon told Noella over the phone. The episode, titled Apples and Oranges, opened with Gina, 37, getting on a private jet with Heather and her family for a New York City getaway. Heather's twin children were going to see East Coast schools and Gina tagged along for the adventure. "Heather clearly knows how to travel in style," said Gina in a confessional of her private jet experience. On the beach in Orange County, Emily and Jen, 44, did a workout together with a trainer. After the workout, Emily asked Jen how things were going with her husband Ryan. "I don't know," said Jen. "I think we both want it to work, but we don't know how to make it work." Jen said that Ryan wants to be equal partners in everything that we do. She wondered if she should just give in to his request. Emily asked her what that meant and she said just honing things equally together. "I bought the Hawaii house before we were married," said Jen. "So separate property," said Emily, who then understood what Jen was talking about. "Do you think that would solve it though?" Jen said maybe. In a confessional, Emily said, "As an attorney, that to me sounds to me like I am ready to leave, but I would like you to pay me a lot of money on my way out, so please sign on the dotted line." Jen said she had an idea of Ryan getting a rented property for a month and then going to counseling and on a date night once a week. Emily said she always advocated towards fixing things and thought that people get divorced too easily. "They think there is something better and then you just trade one set of problems for a whole new set of problems," said Emily. "Then you are single and you are trying to date these douchebags driving around in Lamborghinis." Meanwhile, Heather's plane landed and the group got into a car and drove to Syracuse University, her alma mater. After they checked into their hotel, Heather told Gina to get ready to go out. Heather gave her a tour of the town. "It's been 31 years since I've been back at Syracuse," said Heather. The two went to a local bar. Heather told her that she planned on taking her children on a campus tour and to her old sorority house. Heather said after that they would change for the live podcast she was doing on campus at the request of her alumni association before they jetted to NYC. The next morning, Heather and her 18-year-old twin children, daughter Max and her son Nick, went for a tour of Syracuse University's campus. Nick told their campus guide that he wanted to go into business and Max said she wanted to go into psychology. "It's so trippy to be back here," Heather said. Heather said in a confessional that "I'm not really sentimental about one of my children following in my footsteps. I want them to create their own paths." She also said, "When I was younger I thought I was going to be a Broadway star. I went to school for musical theater. I thought I was going to go to New York." Nope. Nick said to her during the tour, "Mom, this looks like a place Grandma would send you, I'm not going to lie." When they got to Heather's old sorority, there was a hand-painted sign that said "Welcome Heather." Heather shared in a confessional that instead of going to Broadway she did an episode of Divorce Court, which led to being flown out to Los Angeles, becoming a working actress in Hollywood and meeting her husband Terry, 63. The rest, as they say, is history, said Heather. In Syracuse, Heather spoke to a live audience for the podcast about her experience at the school. She said when she went to school that everyone else seemed so secure and I folded in on myself. She told them that she didn't really just gain the freshman 15 pounds either. I ended up doing something that I never expected that completely changed my life, Heather told the students. I entered the Greater Miss Syracuse pageant. Heather said that winning the pageant crown in 1989 helped transform her into a more confident person. After her podcast, Heather and her family and Gina boarded the private jet and headed to Manhattan. Heather and Gina walked around New York City and had pizza together. Heather asked Gina if she would rather be cooking with the girls or here in NYC. "Do you even have to ask?" said Gina. At Jen's house, her couples counselor Tina came over for a one-on-one session. Jen told her that this year had been challenging for her. "I will do anything to make this marriage work," said Jen in a confessional. "If he has to move out, therapy, going and doing things that he likes to do. Like I don't want to go stand-up paddleboarding in the bay, but he does. I just think about the bacteria in the water and I just can't get past it." Tina told Jen that their session was going to be about what she can change so that it would make life better for her, her children and as a couple. Tina said the baggage that she came into the marriage about the rejection she might have experienced were unresolved issues that she brought into her relationships. "Do you feel rejected today?" Tina asked. "Yes," said Jen. Tina said that's a pattern. "I feel nobody can be harder on me than I am on myself," said Jen, crying. Tina said that her husband and her children can pick up on that. She asked her what she could take responsibility for. "I think losing Ryan would feel like losing my dad all over again," said Jen in a confessional. "And I don't want to lose my husband too. I don't know if I can go through another tragedy." Heather and Gina met up with their parents in New York for dinner at Tao. Heather's mother told the server who came over to take her cocktail order, "I don't want to be rude but that's how you set the table," as she moved silverware around. "She just reset the table because it's wrong," Heather told Gina. "My mother is very proper, she likes things a certain way," Heather said in a confessional. "This is how we have dinner and this is how we speak. I am similar in the decorum realm but in other ways we are vastly different." Gina said in a confessional that this explains a lot about where Heather came from, why Heather is the way she is. After dinner, Gina and Heather sat down at the hotel bar for a nightcap. They watched a video from Shannon's party and Gina said she has no pants on and called Emily to find out what happened. Gina said that party seemed to have taken a crazy turn because when they first spoke to Emily at the dinner that things seemed subdued, but she did notice that Emily seemed annoyed. Emily admitted that she was and said it was because Shannon insisted that she was not jealous of the two of you and your relationship. "Again?" said Heather. "I tell you all the time how beautiful you look and how you're glowing and you're so happy, but it's just sad that I feel like friends can't be happy," said Emily. "They take it as arrogance instead of confidence." "Well, she's not my friend," said Gina. Gina said in a confessional that if Shannon was truly happy she wouldn't act like this. The Real Housewives of Orange County will return next Wednesday on Bravo.